Us. Welcome to St. John for formation on the fifth Sunday of Lent, 2026. I'm Father Josh Stevens. Um, Good to be back with you guys. We've been out of town for a little bit, and today we kind of have a more informal formation time. We've been teaching a bunch over the last several weeks and months. So we're going to just check in a bit with you all and think about what's ahead and what we talked about as well in Lent and before. So yeah, it's good to be back. I'll just say, first of all, we were on vacation the last week, and it was really fun to get away. We went down to Florida. We did some new things more on the Gulf side that we'd never done before, and went to this beautiful river where we camped out for a couple nights and had a fun time there, kind of towards Tallahassee. I grew up in Florida in Jacksonville Beach, and I really have spent so little time in the other part of the state, because there's no waves there, there's no surf there. It's like, why would you go there? But it turns out there's good reasons. It's lovely in its own way. And then we went down to Cedar Key. Has anybody been to Cedar Key before? You know where that is? It's this island off of the Gulf that's well north of Tampa. So it's pretty far up. And it's very rural, it's wildernessy, kind of going from there all the way up to Tallahassee. There's tons of wilderness, which is really cool. If you grew up in Florida, you're kind of heartbroken by the limitless development of it. If you're not familiar with that, just hang on, you'll get to know it well wherever you live. So yeah, it was really more wild out there, which I loved. But Cedar Key, we got an Airbnb there, and it's this old kind of art colony type of place. But it was really rough, and we thought it was just impoverished because of the nature of the area. But we found out that 2 years ago they got wrecked by this storm called Helene, and the water line on one of the buildings was there. It was the highest hurricane water line they've ever had. So we felt bonded to them in trauma, and we started talking to them about that a little bit, because there's just so many buildings that are completely need to be gutted and lifted up and everything. But it was fun. And then we went to Jacksonville Beach, where we stayed with my dad for a couple of days and got to see old friends, and we ate lots of seafood, good seafood, bad seafood. Every variety. Cedar Key is known for clams and oysters, mussels, that kind of thing. So it was really good, but it's good to be back with you all, and we're coming back into a really special time. So we're going to chat about that. We'll chat about Holy Week, which is a week from today. But I wanted to check in with you guys a little bit. Last week, some of you were here. I know Jim helped with James Lampkin. Who was here anybody get to hear James? Oh, was there? Good. Oh, that means so much. I love hearing that, because he's pretty, there are places where hundreds of people go to hear him speak. He's a very sought after person in that cooperative Baptist world, especially. So I want to know just from you guys how it went, and just any reflections you have in general on what we've been talking about with family systems, any takeaways you have, self-differentiation, how families function in predictable ways. Maybe you got to see some patterns in your own family that you thought were just personal and hard, but actually they're in every family or in many families. So I'm glad to pass the mic around and hear any reflections you guys have about that whole series that we had. So, who's first? Okay, here you go.
I thought it was a really good series, and I wasn't actually looking forward to it. In fact, I didn't come to a couple of them because I didn't want to hear it because of the situation I had with a family member, and I just said, I don't want that to be brought up again and go through it, but it was really helpful. And I think, a couple people talked about their situations they had with family members and what to do. And he told somebody, think that lady's here today, to wait and talk to you about it. So you will be hearing a little bit about that. But he was fabulous, really. Very unusual delivery and dynamics, and just really a very interesting, thought-provoking talk. Yeah, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was recorded, and I haven't watched it yet. So yeah, we'll have to watch it or just listen to you can kind of listen to it like a podcast almost, and hear it. But yeah, James Lampkin is a great guy, and really a lot of wisdom, lifetime of wisdom there. Other thoughts about family systems and any of the conversations we've had in the last couple of weeks? Takeaways that you have or questions? All right, we'll pass it back to Matt.
This will be fast. I just thought it was helpful the way that he personalized he sort of put his own story in sync with the theories that we've been talking about. So I thought that was really helpful.
Okay, and one over here. Here you go.
We really enjoyed it because it helped us see why certain people in our family, both sides of our family, act the way they do because they grew up with that example. And we also really celebrated that we've broken the chain in some of that, Steve and I together. And yeah, it's really nice. I mean, we really enjoyed it. Thank you.
I really opened up my eyes to a lot of things that he had to say, and it's really, really great. I'll never forget him.
Yeah, I think a lot of the weight that we sometimes feel with the stress of relationships can be lifted when we start to look at them in a more objective way and look at the patterns of them. And like you guys said, that I think each generation, if you try to do this work of emotional maturity, then you end up, just moving the needle a little bit for kids and grandkids that, ended up, they end up having it a little bit more mature and maybe less heavy than what you might have had. And so that's, I think, the work that we're all called to do. And, and it's really tough because these patterns that we have, are very ingrained. But if we can reach out to our larger family networks and learn to stay in touch with people, we just often carry less stress from it. And we get a little bit more maturity and figure out what we're all about, even while staying connected to these family groups, these family systems. So any other thoughts about that? There's lots of books, there's resources, there's podcasts and YouTube videos and stuff like that. So feel free to reach out if you have any questions about that or you want to read a little bit. And sometimes you can find, there's therapists that are trained in that school of thought as well, which sometimes they're hard to find. But with Zoom and that being available now, a lot of times you can connect with people a little bit more easily. So, yep. Bowen. Yeah, here, let me give you this.
Okay. Well, this is more just a question for you, but is that at all related to the therapy type of internal family systems?
Yeah, good question. So yeah, the Bowen family systems, I think it's not related to it. Yeah. But yeah, some of the language just overlaps with different schools of thought. And there's other therapy lenses that are really helpful and great, cognitive behavioral therapy, and there's trauma-based therapy. There's all these different schools of thought that have helped people. And I think what's neat about the Bowen lens is that it's more of a biological thing. Like it's saying this is how organisms work with like groups and individuality. And so it's more studying the dynamics of groups and people and trying to, individuals trying to figure out how to function within a herd and within a group. So a lot of times even the work of self-differentiation can be done through other therapy lenses where you're learning to work on those things and you're getting help from somebody who you think is a pretty solid coach or a solid therapist. So yeah. Any other questions? Yep. Uh-huh. Let's pass this back because, yeah, here you go. Brenda, you mind passing?
Yeah. I'm over the last 90 days or so, I really felt God was leading me to try to get more empathetic, truly understand other people, especially those that might not be like me or from my background. The family, you said the word lens, that was wonderful, but the family theory thing is great diagnostic tool. But what it also did, and Cav alluded to that, was I looked and said, oh my gosh, the person who has been so ostensibly frictionless in the family has suffered such personal trauma. When you look at it, I'm a visual guy. When you look at all that she went through, my heart was breaking for my sibling, you know? And so it took me to a place where I said, it really matters the lens that a person uses when they look at the life they've lived and also the surroundings they have. And as we try to seek the mind of Christ, it stopped being so esoteric for me as in, oh, I'll never get there. But for me, this is just me. I'm not sure it's doctrinal at all. But I saw that God was finally broke through my shell and said, you need to use the lens of Christ as you look at people and open your heart and your mind. And it has been an incredible experience for me over these last 90 days, given all that has happened in our culture. But if you just take a moment and you really apply the lens, no, I'll speak first. When I used the lens of Christ, I just discovered things that were just like, wow. Anyway.
Thank you so much. Okay. Yeah, I think we see Christ as the most self-differentiated person, and I think as one helping us to have the grace to to really change and to lay down the parts of our lives that we need to let go of and to deal with the struggles of ego. So that I think is really good news. It's very good news. I know one thing for me that's been helpful with it as well is the understanding of feelings as being important, but as being things that change a lot. Right? And we just, like in the course of a day or a week or a year, like we feel a lot of different things. And we go through moments or days or weeks where our feelings are really strong and we're very upset, or we're in, we're frustrated about things, or we go through times where we're really good. And it's just, they change a lot. And so learning to look at feelings as this thing that is very fluid. Emotions are very fluid, and a lot of times there's kind of stresses and anxieties that are attached to that, and observe those, and rather than letting them kind of rule things. That's been really helpful for me as I've learned about the theory, and because we have good moments and bad moments, and I think a lot about Mr. Rogers, and he taught us a lot about feelings, and I'm grateful for it. But then also, we do need to process the feelings. I'm not saying that you can ignore them. So we have to process them. But then also, I know I go through times where I think, okay, I'm feeling pretty rough right now, but this is going to pass. These things flow through us, and we go through tough conversations or tough moments or tough interactions. And you learn to kind of keep going and to ride the wave a bit. And then, you're able to keep thinking, basically, even in the midst of the feelings change. Where you learn to think clearly, even when, life is kind of pushing you around and throwing you a lot of different ways. And that's, I think, been a real gift, is that, okay, we've got this reptilian part of us that reacts, and the fight, flight, freeze part of us, and the feelings can just spike and put us in a lot of different places. But we struggle with all right, let me keep thinking now. Let me think clearly. Let me remember who I am, remember what I believe. Right, and that even just struggling to do it is really a win, I think, for most of us, where we try to think clearly, even when we're getting, a lot of different different emotions coming our way. Well, let's shift and talk a little bit about what's ahead. Today is the 5th Sunday of Lent, and we have a week from now, Palm Sunday. So these services, I can't emphasize enough that in the Episcopal tradition, the liturgies we have are very much who we are. The way we step into these services, they shape us, and they give us this story that we almost enact physically. You know, the way we sing and pray and gather together. It's as if the drama of God's redemptive work in the world is somehow made present in the church gathering. You know, the redemptive work of Christ shows up at the altar. You know, somehow the Christ crucified and risen is present as we celebrate the Eucharist. You know, so there's lots of really beautiful theological language that we talked about many times now, like we talk about the past becoming present when we celebrate the Eucharist. Somehow, you know, the redemptive acts on Calvary become present to us, and then the future, God's reality of bringing all things into completion and God's self, you know, and the kingdom coming in its fullness, like somehow we are stepping into that too. So it's like time collapses in these liturgies, really different space. That's why we wear strange clothes. You know, it's otherworldly. It breaks the rules of physics. You know, it's really powerful. So Holy Week is the embodiment of a lot of that. On Palm Sunday, we'll gather for the blessing of the palms outside. Hopefully, if it's not freezing cold or raining, we'll do that at both services. I think that I scheduled acolytes at both services, so pay attention if you have a kid acolyting, because trying to kind of have fuller services, there might be 8:45 torchbearers, you know, when there's not usually. And then between the services, there'll be tables set up, and there'll be an activity where you can make crosses out of the palms and just kind of hang out with each other and share a little bit. So that was really fun last year. So we wanted to do that again. And then we'll do evening prayer in the atrium chapel, which is the little glass room there, at 4:30 on Holy Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. On Maundy Thursday, which you'll see right up here. Maybe it's not sharing it, is it? That's funny. Let me try and fix this real quick. It looks like it froze. So maybe it timed out. These are all on our website. If you click on the banner, I'll show you where to find them. Maybe. Hold on. All right, let me try just rebooting these a little bit. Okay, cool. So I'll just talk a little bit and see how if this loads. It might not. Okay, that's all right. If you go on our website, you can see the services. Right now, the banner says Lent, but if you click on the Lent banner, you can click down to Holy Week. So on Maundy Thursday, we have a service at 5 o'clock for children in the Wilderness Room, which is called the Foot Washing for Kids. And we do pizza at 5, and then the service is from 5:30 to 6. So they're going to hear the story of the foot washing, and then they're going to be invited to wash feet, each other's feet. Kids love this tactile stuff. They're not like, they don't have that adults. Yeah, they're not worried about, oh gosh, what do I do? They're like, yes, I can do this. I can follow these instructions. I want to do it. It's really cool. Now the later service is longer. It's really powerful, more dramatic, you know. But that's just hard for young children because you're there until like 9 p.m. or something like that. So I'm kind of sad that maybe I won't force my kids to do both services, but it's probably good for them. when they get a little older, they can help with it. So yeah, 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock. There is a sign up for that. So it'd be great to know who's coming for the 5 p.m. service so we can get food. And parents are welcome to hang out for it, or you can drop them off. Either way is fine. And then the liturgy at 7, I think it's at 7 p.m. Yeah, is the one in the church where you have this really beautiful service on Maundy Thursday. Maundy comes from the Latin mandatum, as in the novum mandatum, the new commandment that Jesus gives in John's gospel at the Last Supper, right? That you love one another as he has loved us. And so there's the foot washing for it. There's the Eucharist. We're celebrating the Last Supper. So it's really powerful. And then the service all kind of turns as we have the psalm chanted and the altar is stripped, and it's really pivots to Good Friday in this powerful way. And the service ends in darkness. The consecrated bread and wine are put up on the pulpit, and that way, Christ, who is about to be crucified, is present in the bread and the wine somehow. So it's like there's that visual representation of Christ, Christ in the sacrament. So that's there as we begin the vigil for the whole night. So we have, as that service ends, we have the Gethsemane Watch Vigil, which is where you sign up to come for an hour to pray, to stay awake and pray, just like Jesus asked his disciples to do. So I haven't checked it since I've been out of town to see if the slots are filled, but we say, it's great to fill all of them. That way there's a chain of prayer and vigil is kept from 9 p.m. until 8 a.m. And then even it's okay if you can come and there's sometimes a couple people there, and the church is dimly lit, and it's hard to stay awake, but it's good to try and just pray there overnight. And I've found like teenagers often really like that because they're like, I get to get up late and go in and be up in the middle of the night for an hour. So I encourage you to check that out and participate in it if you're able to. And then on Good Friday, we have the Stations of the Cross at 11, where we carry the cross up to the church, which is really powerful, pausing to do the stations as we go. And then we'll do the liturgy from noon to 1 about. And then we'll repeat that liturgy at 5:30. And the cross is there in the church for anybody who wants to spend time in prayer that afternoon. But that's also really powerful. Really, that liturgy too, and Good Friday, it's like Ash Wednesday, where it's like one of the most powerful things we do all year, is that Good Friday liturgy. And I often find that that it interprets us and our lives. If I think that sometimes if people have not experienced hardship in life, Good Friday is like really weird to them. It doesn't make any sense to them. But people who have experienced real loss and suffering, like it speaks to them, because you're seeing God suffering and crucified and Christ with us in this powerful, powerful way. So yeah, it's really an important one. And the stations add a lot to it as well. Any questions about that so far? Anything you've wondered about those services you can recall? May I comment? Yep, sure.
Betty and I have adopted the practice of spending every Easter and every Christmas here because their parents need help with childcare in those seasons. Clergymen don't get those times off ever. But I've seen in the recent past for the occasion where you're being asked, or everyone in the parish is being asked to chip in and spend an hour through the night to sign up for that. I've seen Father Josh himself step up in slots that were not covered off. And I'm here to tell you that this fellow really works hard. This is his busiest time of year, and you would be doing him a great honor if or the parish would be doing him a great honor if all of those slots were filled so that he didn't feel that he had to take it upon himself, in addition to everything else that he's doing in this time, to go and fill one of those time slots. So I mentioned that in passing because I really admire my son-in-law.
Well, I'm glad to be there, but it's a unique grace, and it's worth stepping into. So yeah, you can see this on the website here. We can check out the Gethsemane Watch link here. Yes, yeah. So yeah, so there's yeah, they are for sure. But there's other folks that really, like, there's folks that say, oh, I'm going to sign up for this too in the middle of the night because they have come to appreciate that. And sometimes it's just really good to be inconvenienced by your faith and by, it's really powerful. So yeah, that's how you find that one. And then Good Friday, we've got here. The offering on Good Friday goes to the Episcopal Diocese of Jerusalem. And that's a tradition that's like a century old. And that is, I cannot begin to tell you what the Episcopal Diocese of Jerusalem, they are incredible, and they're in the middle of a war zone, and they're just maintaining hope, and they're loving enemies in very non-abstract ways. They're running hospitals and schools and parishes, and they're in Israel, Palestine, Lebanon, and I think Syria as well, Jordan. Yeah, it's incredible community there. So all these churches all over the U.S. on Good Friday send these like little tiny offerings to them, and it adds up. So if you throw something in the plate on Good Friday, like, we're not going to pass the plate, but it's there. If you throw something in the plate, then it goes to the Diocese of Jerusalem. Yeah, there's a lot to it that if we don't talk about it, nobody really knows, So, and then on Holy Saturday last year, one of our families asked if I could help them with this tradition of blessing the Easter basket or the food for the Easter feast. So this was Vicky Bohenik, who is a immigrant from Poland. She's the veterinarian, and she's got Joey and Addie. So they were refugees that fled Poland, because of the communist takeover there. And the Episcopal Church helped them land here. And so they have this tradition of blessing these Easter baskets, which have like sausage and salt and oil and like all the things that anticipate the Easter feast, as well as like candy and fun stuff. So, and a lot of Latino families do this too. So we'll do that on Friday, or on Saturday rather, Holy Saturday. So if you want to make an Easter basket that somehow anticipates the next day, then feel free to come at 4, and we'll say a special prayer over it and blessing. It's really cool. They make cakes. I mean, they have this great cultural heritage that they share with us. So we made it official this year. Last year I just did it, on the side. It's really neat. Has anybody heard of that before? Some of you guys have. Some of you haven't. Yeah, it's neat. So that's on Holy Saturday. And then on Easter Sunday, we'll have both services per usual. And we'll have an Easter egg hunt in between. And then we have a parish breakfast this year, which is an experiment. There's been some anxiety around it, because they're like, well, are people going to come? Or, how's it going to go? And a lot of churches actually will only do breakfast on Easter. Like that's part of what they do, is a really special occasion breakfast. So it'll be interesting to see how it is for us. But yeah, we would encourage you all to come to breakfast. They're going to have longer hours, so you can come between like 9:30 and like 11:30, and so you can make sure you have time. So that's there. And then that afternoon, we have a potluck feast at my house at 4 o'clock. And you can sign up for it right here, which has been really fun. If it rains this year, then we're going to just move it to the parish hall. So, because my house is great for outdoor gatherings, but we've had like 70 people there for Easter, and inside it makes me nervous. I'm like, I don't think it would be so fun. So we're gonna move that to the parish hall if it rains. So if you sign up for it, then we'll make sure to like send you an email and let you know. It might be a last minute call. It might be like Easter Sunday at 1:30. You get an email that says, let's do it in the parish hall. But please join us for it. Invite friends and family, and it'll be fun. Any questions about the services ahead? What are we forgetting? Any wisdom you all have picked up on over the years? I'm trying to think. Good Friday is a fast day in the prayer book. There's only 2 fast days that are listed, Ash Wednesday and Good Friday. So I would strongly encourage you to try to function in some way a bit differently on Good Friday. Maybe just simplify your day. Like a lot of the stuff we usually do, like for me, it comes to mind is like emails or, little things like that. They just feel very silly on Good Friday. After you, I like to spend my day, like maybe I'll visit people or maybe we'll spend extra time in prayer. So it'd be good to think about that ahead of time and decide, I'm going to leave the TV off on Good Friday, or I'm going to, only eat soup and bread on Good Friday. There's a lot of different ways to do it. Simplify life a bit would be meaningful. Any other thoughts or questions? Yep, question. We do. Oh, I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, that's another thing. There's all these things. Yeah, so on Easter Sunday, we flower a cross. Yeah, on Easter Sunday. Yeah, so we'll flower a cross, and you can bring flowers to add to it, and you just do it as you come into the church. It's at the back. And so we also provide flowers there, and the ushers kind of struggle to keep up with everything because they've got a lot of people coming in. But everyone, it would be great to have you go and just pick up a flower that we provide and put it on the cross. Because what you'll notice on Good Friday is that the big cross that Jim Gibbs made, right, who passed away recently, right, he made this huge cross, and that ends up at the front of the church on Good Friday, right, as part of the Good Friday liturgy. But then come Easter Sunday, there's a different cross there. We bring that cross forward, and I think we do it at the 11 o'clock service only because the cross is being filled at the first service still. So we'll bring that cross forward at the end of the service, and now that the cross has been transformed, from this instrument of shameful death, has become this tree of life, as the book of Revelation talks about. So it's really beautiful, and we need your help doing it. So bring flowers, or just use the flowers we provide. We provide them because a lot of times it was not getting filled by the flowers people would bring. It was looking sad. So we're just going to put it, and the ushers are supposed to fill it in if you all don't, but that's another good one for kids to do as well. So yeah, good question. Yep.
So how do you keep this all straight? Do you have like a director who's in the wings hiding? Keep your schedule?
Nope.
You say you've got to go here and you got to do that.
Yeah, we just add a little bit each year, and try to make it a little bit more integrity each year, and it just becomes this rhythm, this part of life. So yeah, it's really, really beautiful, and people all over the world will be stepping into it too.
Well, I think that's great because we're a church that so many of us come from so many different traditions in our own Episcopal church, and that we're using all that, and because this is our home church.
Yeah.
And we like to have that little bit of the blessing of the Easter basket or the flower cross.
Yeah.
We call them mite boxes, but the UTO boxes.
Yep, the UTO boxes are today.
So it is a lot, and you're juggling all this with, okay, well, this wasn't Florida, but okay. But it's just, it's welcoming. It's very welcoming, and that's what.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you guys. It's all the community, the work of the community, and we're just called to do it, to kind of lead it and organize it. So thanks for sharing in it, and looking forward to the week ahead. And yeah, we'll have formation. We'll plan on we have the Palm Sunday one on Easter Sunday, the breakfast and Easter egg hunt. So we'll plan on having formation on the second Sunday of Easter. So we'll be back in a couple weeks for the more usual time. And so more to come about that. But thank you guys for the time this morning. Appreciate y'all and looking forward to what's ahead.